Today I want to share with you something that happened over the last few weeks. So first of all, a big thank you to every single person who watches my YouTube, reaches out to us, fills out application, calls us for rate quotes. I really appreciate you guys. Everyone on my team appreciates you guys. We think you're awesome. So today I want to share with you something that happened, and it's taken a lot of my attention the last few weeks because it's a circumstance where I've read about stuff like this happening, but it was really happening, and it was happening on one of my loans, which was super eye-opening. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see that I've been spending the last year getting as many licenses as I can in multiple states so I can help tons of people. So I'm constantly doing mortgage education. So during this whole process, I was thinking about all that education, and I was like, oh my God, this is like something I've read about. Can this be real? So let me tell you the story. So basically we had a client get into contract. The house was being sold to him at an amazing price. Super good deal. We got the appraisal back. The appraisal was actually $40,000 higher than what he was paying, which is super rare. And everything was going perfect with the loan. The borrower was perfect, so nice. And we're getting really close to closing, but we keep on asking title for paperwork. Hey, we really need the chain of title. We need all these documents. And then also, since the trust is selling this, we need to know who owns the trust. They have, permission to sign. That's our job. My underwriter's job is to make sure that if you buy a house, the seller owns it and they have the right to sell the house. Now, in reality, that's title's job, okay? My underwriters just checked to make sure title didn't miss anything. Woo! Okay, well, can you see where this is going? Yeah, so fun story. We spent probably 2 weeks and over 1,000 emails between the underwriters, me, the listing agent, going back and forth. Hey, this doesn't make sense. Can you explain this to us? Okay, let me talk to the people on it. Hey, this doesn't make sense. And then we started getting extreme pressure. So the listing agent was calling the buyer's agent saying, you need to close this now. Why isn't this closed? You need to, quote, put a rocket up the lender's, end quote. Yeah, a rocket. Thanks, guys. I'm going to pass on that. Anyways, just really aggressive, like really intimidating, just close this. And the behavior coupled with the documents that we were seeing, and title was being super weird. Like they didn't send us anything until 4 days before close. We would ask them questions and they'd say, we don't know. And then the title company was on us going, can we close today? Like we would ask for 4 documents on Wednesday, and on Thursday, the title company would say, without providing any of it, can we close today? That is not normal. No, it's not normal. So we go through all of this, like just trying to get the information because we have to do our job. That's what we do, guys. We make sure that stuff's okay for our borrowers. Well, we get to the end and we feel like we almost have it, but then a second set of eyes looks at it because no one's 100% comfortable because the behavior's a red flag, the documents are a red flag, the way people are responding to us are a red flag. So it goes to audit, and audit looks at it and they go, yeah, no, there's a couple issues here, what they are. So we go back to them and we say, okay, guys, this is what we're seeing, what's the solution? Oh my goodness. So they come back to us 2 days later and they say, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. It's so weird. So the guy on the contract selling the property, we just found out he doesn't own it at all. He actually sold it a year ago. And this is the new seller. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. So basically they had been aggressively harassing us to close on this purchase. And lo and behold, the person who was on the contract as the seller did not own the property. No. So had we closed on that, like here's a great example. So imagine that Bob owns a Mercedes. Becky doesn't own it. Becky steals it and she sells it to Jane and says, oh yeah, Jane, here's this beautiful car. Does Jane own the car? No, because Bob owns it. Bob didn't sell it to Jane. Becky stole it and sold it to Jane. Yeah, and that's, and in this case, like, You know, the listing agent said, oh, well, the seller, the guy we thought was the seller forgot he sold it last year. I don't know, like, I've always remembered when I sold a house, you know, and maybe I'm just like totally above average in that regard, but I feel like people know when they sell a home, okay? And I am so thankful to my underwriters, because had we closed on that, and that's what really scared me, is because after it was like, oh yeah, you know, all that needling and prodding, you guys were right, he didn't own it, they wanted to go second round. Oh, we found the real seller, let's do this again. And my reaction to that was, no, I really don't want to, but it's not up to me. If the buyer wants to take that risk, he can go a second round. And in that case, I really struggled, because I was like, well, I don't want to be a part of this. I think this is a nightmare. You know, this has taken 4 million hours of my time, where I should be reviewing applications that are coming in. I should be calling back people quicker, but instead I'm knee deep in like, who owns the house? Which shell's moving where? Where's the card, right? Because it's like that game. Is it One Card Monty? I'm not sure. They played in parks. Anyways, but ultimately it's up to the buyer, right? Does the buyer want to try this again? Get a different title company, because that one clearly is suspect and they were tied to the seller, and go around. And what really concerned me about that is I didn't want to be a part of it, but I was really scared that if he worked with another lender, if there were shenanigans, they may not catch it. Because I have to tell you on this one, you know, as a loan originator, I know my underwriters. At Guaranteed Rate, I do, because of the way our company is structured, I work with the same people constantly. And so I know how often they call stuff out and how often they don't. So in this case, I went, okay, they're calling something out. These guys usually don't, something's up. But I was like, well, what if they're working with a lender where the underwriter misses it? Because that totally could have happened here. Like on this situation, it totally could have happened where an underwriter just stamped it and it moved forward. Or what if the underwriter calls it out, but the loan originator bullies the underwriter? And you do see that at certain companies where a producer that does enough volume can say to an underwriter, you're wrong, and then a regional manager gets involved and a CEO gets involved and the loan gets skirted through. So I was actually very concerned that the borrower was gonna wanna take a second time. Now, thankfully, thank you, Joe. He did not decide to take a second round with this. He was like, yeah, this is crazy. And he's shopping for houses from, you know, different people now, yay. But that's the thing, and that's something to keep in mind, guys, is that sometimes when you're buying a house, it can get really emotional, especially if you have a lender like me who's like, everything's great. And then they're like, wait, this is weird, like give us time to explore. And thankfully in this case, they were like, yeah, we trust you, go explore. But if you're buying a house and a lender says, hey, we've got to go explore something, I think you need to be good with it. Because in this case, the buyer being good with it made it so that we could actually end up in a good position where he didn't buy a house from someone who didn't own it. Had it been a different situation where I had different underwriters and an aggressive borrower, it could have ended up totally for the worse. So I just want to share this story with you because it was so crazy to me that something like this could even happen. You read about it, but then when you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, like these people were trying to close a house with someone who didn't own it, and they were trying to shove it down our throat, and they were using a title company that was totally going to do this. It really does happen. So I hope this has been somewhat useful. I know I went a little bit into detail, but it was just wild. So if a lender says, hey, we really need to explore something with title, please let them explore it, because the last thing you want to do is be like Jane, who just bought a car from Becky, who doesn't own it. Therefore, Jane just lit her money on fire. Thanks for watching.